if we can. The wind's kind of blowing pretty bad today. We had some real serious storms move through here. Whew. Everything's pretty good though, no damage, just a few little old limbs blown down here and there. But anywho, we wanted to do a little video this afternoon, just kind of doing a little crappie chat, I guess you would say. If this wind holds off just a minute or three while the sun's out kind of nice right here. But so in general, this video just kind of talking about crappie rods and what crappie rods do you guys use. So I thought I'd just go through and kind of talk about what I use, and you can go back and check out my previous crappie fishing videos and you'll see me using these rods. So this first rod, I'm going to start off with the shortest rod that I really consider what I would use for crappie fishing, for my style of fishing and whatnot, is this little 6'6". It's made by Shakespeare. It's called an Excursion. It's a 6'6", so I mean it is what it is, just an old graphite rod. There's really nothing special to it, you know. It's even falling apart a little bit right here where I wasn't so careful with it, but I did kind of glue that back together and it still works. So in general with me, what you'll find out is I kind of tend to just use what I've got. I'm not a go out and I need to buy another rod tomorrow and another one the next day, or I don't feel like I need to have a whole bunch of rods around to go catch fish. So I'm a little bit different. So I'm not really coming at this from a here's what you need and here's what I recommend type deal. This is just kind of what I use, and you can come to your own conclusions about what you need. But the variety of different techniques that people use for crappie fishing, the different styles of fishing, the different parts of the country, whether you're fishing a river, a stream, a creek, a lake, the time of year, and all that stuff, you know, you got to figure all that out and just come to the conclusion of what works for you or what works best for you. So anyways, at the shortest of this, for me, a crappie fishing pole is a 6'6". It's a real useful size. I definitely would want to have something in that range on hand. This one works fine, and you know, it's a 6'6". There's nothing special about the rod, and it does fine when I need it, and I like to keep it on hand. So that's kind of my shortest pole right there, is a 6'6". Now if you're fishing some other situation, obviously ice fishing or fishing a creek with some dense brush, maybe you want to change it up. But on the short end of the things, for what I do over here on Fort Loudon Reservoir, this 6'6" is a good short end of the stick for me there. On the medium end of things, I've got kind of a recent addition to my arsenal. And again, I'm not one to go out and buy something real specific, and I actually came across this one just randomly. I basically found this rod. So hey, somebody was throwing this away, and at first I thought it was kind of a cheap rod. I thought, well, that's why they threw it away, it's just a cheap rod. But it actually turned out to be kind of an expensive rod. It's about a $150 rod new. It's called a Energy Impulse fishing rod. So I guess that's the name of the company, Impulse Fishing Rods, and it's an Energy series. So this happens to be what they call a 7-foot medium spin, which turns out to be a pretty good length for me. I like that 7-foot range. It fills the gap. It's kind of the next size up from that 6.5, and I've been using it quite a bit. It's more of a bass finesse rod for bass fishing, I guess, or drop shotting, something like that. So the tip, you know, is not exactly where I think I would like it. It's pretty soft right here, but it gets pretty stiff in a hurry down right in through here. It really stiffens up in a hurry, but it's still very useful, and I like it okay. It's, you know, so as far as this goes in this, you know, 7-foot range, this rod functions perfectly fine, and I've got it paired up with an old Shimano Spyrex, some old junky old reel. Okay, as far as my long pole goes, this is about a 9-foot rod. This is an old ugly stick, GX2. Like I said, it's about a 9-foot rod, 2-piece, and nothing real special about it. I bought it at one time because I wanted a longer rod, and it's all that Walmart had in stock, so I just went ahead and got it. For what I'm doing, this particular rod is a little too heavy. I would not recommend it for crappie fishing. Out of a boat it might be okay, and for some applications it's fine, but for what I'm doing it's a little heavy, and I'm sure there's some 9-foot rods that would work a lot better than this. But for overall just the size of the rod, it's good at 9 foot. The action is good for what I like, and it gives me the ability to make longer casts. And for the style of fishing that I do right here on Fort Loudon, this works out great. And I'll maybe go into that technique sometime down the road a little bit, or you can check out my videos. Check out some of my crappie fishing videos there, and you'll see what I'm talking about. I use this rod quite a bit over the last I guess the last 3 seasons I've been using this rod, so you'll be able to see some videos going back 3 seasons of me using this this GX2 right here, which works out pretty good. Been very durable. A few little things about it that I haven't liked, and I'm not going to go into those right now. This is more of just kind of a general, just give you an overview of what I use, and maybe help you make a decision on what size rods you might want to buy. If you're new to crappie fishing, you need to make a decision, and I would say 9 foot is pretty much for most people getting on the long end of it. There are some people that use them even longer than 9 foot, 10, 11, 12. Some special techniques you really benefit from a long pole. But in general, if you stick with something in between that, say 6.5 foot and 9 foot, a couple of rods in that range is going to serve you pretty well for your general bank fishing adventures there. So let me know down in the comment section what's your favorite rod for crappie fishing, and if you want to mention what style of crappie fishing you do, whether you're fishing out of a boat or fishing from the bank or fishing with minnows or jig fishing or whatever you're doing. So go ahead and drop a comment down there and let us know, let everybody else know what your favorite size crappie fishing rod is. And I'd say for me, as far as between this 6.5 and the 7 or the 9, for what I do out here, I'd probably go with the 9 footer most of the time. And the 7 foot would be nice, and even an 8 foot would be good. I don't happen to have an 8 foot, but an 8 foot would be great, 8.5 foot. So really, to me, anything between 6.5 feet to around 9 to maybe 10 feet, you can utilize that pretty good for bank fishing for crappie. So it's either just what you can come up with on a budget in that range, and you don't have to go out and buy specific crappie rods. None of these rods are specific crappie rods. So just look for whatever you can afford the best within your budget, and like I said, pretty much you're going to be okay with that 6.5 to 10 foot range. And maybe a few circumstances you like a little shorter pole better, and who knows, maybe you need a big 13 foot pole for some unusual things you might be doing. But in general, I think you'll be fine with anything between 6.5 and 9 feet. All right there, well, trying to extend this video out just a little bit, and I thought at the tail end of it I might show you a couple of other kind of old oddball rods and reels I've got that were kind of interesting. This one is kind of interesting in that it's kind of a big, kind of a deep sea, I guess you'd call a deep sea type fishing outfit with an old Fluger reel on it. But the rod is really what I think is kind of interesting. It's got this really kind of a cool, I guess they've turned that on a lathe, but that's a solid wood handle. It's kind of got a, can't tell right there, but it's kind of a dark green finish, but it comes up into like a split bamboo rod, a real short, stiff bamboo rod. So it's kind of different. It's called a blue water, if you can see that or not. It's called a blue water, Utica, New York. So this was made probably, I'm guessing, back in the 50s, but I thought it was kind of cool, kind of interesting. Still has the original fishing line on it right here. So I thought you guys might want to see that. It's a little bit different. Maybe one of these days I can restore this thing. Just needs some eyelets right here soldered back in, and it would be good to go. I think you can put this thing into service. How practical it would be. It's got that neat Bakelite swirl handle on it right there, which is kind of cool. And again, this is an old Fluger 2048 Seaview, made in the United States of America. I guess we'll show you this last little rod. This happens to be a fly rod. This is something I bought at a yard sale a long time ago. It's a pretty neat little fly rod. I don't think it's terribly valuable, but I've always liked it. So it's made by St. Croix, and it's an ultralight. I don't know if you can see that. It's a fiberglass fly rod, probably from the 60s, I would guess. And it's fairly short. It's not very long. It's 6'8", so that's a fairly short for a fly rod. That's very short. But there's the information on it right there, if that's showing up. Again, I always just thought it was kind of a neat little fly rod, kind of well made. The cork is in good shape. Just kind of a neat little short fly rod made out of fiberglass. I've had that, bought this. I actually bought this at a yard sale many years ago, probably back in the early 1990s. I bought this at a yard sale. So anyways, there we go.